everyone, and today I'm going to be building a little lookout tower. This was actually suggested to me in a comment, and I actually forgot to record audio for this video, so I'm doing this in voiceover unfortunately, so I can actually kind of go a little bit more in depth to what I'm doing. So what I'm mainly going to start off by doing is just building up how tall I want this to be. So I'm just going to grab some regular wood and just mark it out, and then I might go through and use a gradient that I made in a previous video. I'll link it down below, and just sort of get that all sorted. Now that that's all done, what I want to do is fill in the area so that I can hammer out the supports. What I want to kind of go for is a crisscross design, so I'm going to be hammering these, and this actually takes a lot longer than you'd think it would, so I'm going to speed through this bit and you'll get the general idea. Alright, now that that is pretty much done, I'm going to start working on these stone bits, and I'm going to place these just on top and then have to hammer it all again because I am not the most clever. So once that's all done, I will actually start on the main top of the lookout tower. So for this, I want it to be made out of stone so it feels a bit more sturdy. I mainly kind of messed around with shapes and designs for this part. I definitely did end up going for a design that I quite liked. The roof doesn't quite match as well as I'd hoped it would, but still overall I think it turned out quite well. Oh, and before I forget, I used regular stone, stone bricks, ebonstone bricks, crimstone bricks, and some green dungeon bricks. But now I want to work on the support areas because this kind of looks quite flimsy at the moment. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to place down some fences. I'm going to start with rich mahogany fence, then going into ebonwood fence, and then a little bit of bamboo fence. And this will kind of create an almost hourglass-like shape that would kind of simulate tension between wood or rope, and I ended up thinking this turned out quite nicely. Along with these side design bits, I also went in and added some honey platforms and some brass shelf. This kind of gave a curve to that top where the wood meets the stone. I also added in a little bit of rich mahogany wood wall, and then I decided that I wanted the stone bit to kind of have a bit more shape to it, so I grabbed some palladium column, placed those in, then repainted them grey because I forgot to switch the paints. Then what I wanted to start by doing on the top bit is working out this slope platform. So I started by just putting in some stairs, which are just hammered platforms, and I felt that it was quite nice. It gave a curve to it, but it still felt quite out of place. So I did a little bit of workshopping on this, but this was right at the end of the build, so you'll see that after. Then once I'd all done that, I wanted to start working on the roof, and my main idea for this was sort of like a fire lookout tower. So I wanted to be able to look through, obviously since it's a lookout tower, you want to be able to look through, but I wanted it to kind of have that barn on stilts look. I don't know if that really makes sense, but I started just working out with the roof, and I kind of realized that it looks like a helmet from Minecraft, so I kept going through and working on it. Some of the main things that I started off by doing was extending the areas where I wanted there to be the visible like stilt platform bits that holding up the roof, and then I wanted to curve it out a little bit, so I used some honey platforms, boreal wood platforms, and some brass shelf. I'm not entirely happy with this roof. It definitely could do with a bit more work, but hey, that's besides the point. Next thing I wanted to do was actually make this a functional watchtower, because at the moment it's, the only way to get up to it is either you fly and teleport in or you break stuff to get in. So I wanted to make the actual bottom bit fully actuated so you could fully walk through it. And then I had a pretty decent idea, or I think it's a pretty decent idea, of actually making it so you can jump through it without it looking really out of place. Then at the bottom here, I wanted it to be able to still walk through. So I made this little inlay bits where there's some stone, and then you can actuate the walls on and off. So if you're actually, in say like a corrupted biome, or there's nighttime, there's like zombies and stuff, you can just kind of go in, flick the switch, and you're fine. What I decided for the walk-up bits is to use obsidian platforms painted brown, and it's because even when they're like not actuated, they still look quite dark, and because you can hammer them into stairs, it still fits with that diagonal support structure. So I think this worked out really well, because then you can just jump up, go through, chill up there, and it's still pretty nice. But then I also decided to work on a little bit more of the stone area. So obviously you can see there I've hammered the two sides so that it's a bit easier to look out. And then I also wanted to add in a new spot for the stuff to be. So instead of the actuated stone, I went in and I used some blue brick platforms. And there we have it. If you have any questions about this, just comment down below and I'll see if I can get to them as soon as possible. But anyways, I really hope you enjoyed this. Have a lovely day.